Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. The screen fades in with a crack of lightning, then the words echo. How did one man help invent a nation, start a revolution, and electrify the world, literally? A sweeping visual montage follows, quickly capturing flashes of a kite in a storm, the signing of the Declaration of Independence, a printing press rolling, and Franklin charming the French court in silk and spectacles. His face appears on money, books, inventions, and treaties, each image building suspense around the man behind the myth. This video dives deep into the true story of Benjamin Franklin, not just the founding father, but the inventor, humorist, diplomat, and cultural visionary who shaped America's identity before it even had one. From his humble beginnings in a Boston printer's shop to the grand halls of European diplomacy, Franklin's life is a blueprint of innovation and ambition. Viewers will uncover how he helped draft a revolution, pioneered electrical science, and left behind ideas that still influence our world today. Before we begin this extraordinary journey into Franklin's life, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon, because you won't want to miss any of the revolutionary stories we uncover next. Benjamin Franklin's journey began in Boston in 1706, where he was born the 15th of 17 children in a modest Puritan household. His father, a candle maker, had little wealth but instilled in young Ben the values of hard work and moral discipline. From an early age, Franklin's curiosity set him apart. With only 2 years of formal schooling, he voraciously taught himself by reading anything he could get his hands on, from classical philosophy to modern science. But the constraints of his family life and a strained apprenticeship under his brother James, a printer, eventually pushed him to break free. At the age of 17, Franklin did something radical. He ran away from home. With just a few coins in his pocket, he made his way to Philadelphia, arriving hungry, dirty, and completely unknown. Yet it was in this bustling city that he would remake himself. Franklin started at the bottom, working in print shops, but quickly climbed the ranks. Through his unmatched work ethic and wit, he eventually opened his own printing house and began publishing the Pennsylvania Gazette, which became one of the colony's most influential newspapers. It was through his Poor Richard's Almanac, however, that Franklin truly embedded himself in the cultural fabric of early America. Under the pseudonym Richard Saunders, he filled its pages with practical wisdom, satirical humor, and now famous proverbs like, "Early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise." The almanac wasn't just a bestseller. It shaped the mindset of a colonial people striving for success in a young and uncertain world. Through clever self-education and relentless hustle, Franklin showed that in the new world, reinvention was possible. Benjamin Franklin's curiosity about the natural world was insatiable, and one of his most significant contributions came from his fascination with electricity. In the 1750s, electricity was a newly discovered phenomenon, and Franklin was captivated by its mysterious powers. Rather than merely observing from the sidelines, he decided to dive in and experiment. One of his most famous experiments, often romanticized in American history, was his kite experiment in 1752. Franklin's goal was to prove that lightning was a form of electricity. During a storm, he flew a kite with a metal key attached to the string. The kite was struck by lightning, which allowed Franklin to capture the electrical charge. This experiment, although simplified for public understanding, provided evidence that lightning and static electricity were the same force. The kite experiment marked a critical moment in the study of electricity and opened the door to further discoveries. Following his findings, Franklin turned his attention to practical applications. His most important invention in this regard was the lightning rod, which he developed to protect buildings from lightning strikes by safely directing the electrical charge into the ground. The lightning rod was revolutionary, saving countless structures from the destructive force of lightning and marking Franklin's deep commitment to using science for the public good. But Franklin didn't stop there. His inventive genius extended beyond electricity. He invented bifocal glasses, which allowed people to see both near and far distances without switching between different pairs of glasses. He also designed the Franklin stove, an efficient heating device that helped warm homes during harsh winters. And in his pursuit of physical well-being, he created swim fins, enabling swimmers to move more efficiently in the water. Franklin's approach to science was practical and aimed at improving daily life. He didn't simply want to understand the world. He sought to change it for the better. His ability to combine intellectual curiosity with real-world applications made him one of the foremost inventors and scientists of his time. Benjamin Franklin's political influence was just as profound as his scientific contributions. He became a central figure in the American Enlightenment, a period marked by the flourishing of intellectual thought, reason, and the desire to create a better society. Franklin's ideas about liberty, individual rights, and self-government were deeply influenced by Enlightenment thinkers such as John Locke and Montesquieu. His emphasis on reason, public service, and communal good made him a natural leader in the American Revolutionary movement. Franklin's political journey truly began when he became a member of the Continental Congress in 1775. His reputation as a printer, scientist, and intellectual had already earned him respect, and he quickly became involved in shaping America's break from Britain. His influence extended across a wide range of issues, but one of his most significant roles was in drafting the Declaration of Independence. Though Thomas Jefferson is credited as the primary author, Franklin's ideas, revisions, and collaborative spirit were key in forming the foundational document that would proclaim the colony's independence from Britain. But Franklin's most pivotal role came as a diplomat during the Revolutionary War. Recognizing that America's fight for independence would require foreign support, Franklin embarked on a diplomatic mission to France in 1776. As a seasoned negotiator and respected figure, he successfully garnered France's backing, both in the form of military support and financial aid. This alliance was crucial in securing the eventual victory against Britain. Franklin's charm, wit, and reputation as a philosopher and inventor made him an ideal emissary to the French, who admired his work and saw him as a symbol of the New World's intellectual potential. Franklin's diplomatic efforts did not end with France. He was also deeply involved in negotiating the Treaty of Paris in 1783, which ended the Revolutionary War and recognized American independence. His influence in securing the peace treaty cemented his legacy as one of the foundational figures in the birth of the United States. Benjamin Franklin's legacy as a statesman is indeed extraordinary, not just for his vast contributions to the formation of the United States, but for the depth of his intellectual and political engagement across the entire arc of the nation's birth. He stands as one of the few individuals in American history to have signed all four of the most foundational documents that defined the early republic, a feat that underscores his unparalleled dedication to the American cause. First, Franklin's signature on the Declaration of Independence in 1776 cemented his place in history as one of the key leaders of the American Revolution. The Declaration, of course, marked the formal separation of the American colonies from Great Britain, and Franklin's involvement signified not only his commitment to the cause of independence, but his deep belief in the principles of liberty and self-government. His role in the Continental Congress, where he played an integral part in advocating for independence and reconciliation between the colonies, was vital to the revolutionary movement. Franklin's diplomatic prowess further defined his political legacy, especially in his role as an emissary to France. As a diplomat, Franklin secured the Treaty of Alliance with France in 1778, which was critical to the success of the American Revolution. The alliance provided the American forces with essential military and financial support, without which victory against the British would have been far less likely. Franklin's personal charm, intellectual reputation, and statesmanlike manner made him immensely popular in France, allowing him to sway public opinion and gain the French monarchy's support. His diplomatic efforts were crucial not only to securing French assistance, but to solidifying international recognition of the American cause. Another monumental moment in Franklin's political career came with the signing of the Treaty of Paris in 1783, which formally ended the Revolutionary War. This treaty not only secured American independence, but also expanded the nation's territory, setting the stage for the future growth of the United States. Franklin's keen diplomatic skills and pragmatism were instrumental in negotiating favorable terms for the newly independent nation. Finally, Franklin's signature on the U.S. Constitution in 1787 placed him at the heart of the nation's efforts to create a lasting system of government. As a delegate to the Constitutional Convention, Franklin was one of the elder statesmen, whose wisdom and moderation helped bridge divides between the delegates. Though he was not as active in the debates as some of his peers, His endorsement of the Constitution lent it considerable weight and helped to ensure its ratification. Franklin's vision for a united federal government was fundamental to the future success of the United States. Beyond his direct contributions to these documents, Franklin's intellectual influence and practical inventions left an enduring mark on both American society and the world at large. His work in science, philosophy, and public policy shaped the Enlightenment ideals that underpinned the American Revolution and the fledgling nation's government. Franklin's inventions, including the lightning rod and bifocal glasses, exemplified his practical genius, while his political writings, especially Poor Richard's Almanac, contributed to the shaping of American cultural values. In sum, Benjamin Franklin was not just a founding father in the literal sense of his involvement in the key moments of America's birth. His broad range of contributions, from diplomacy and statecraft to scientific inquiry and invention, placed him at the very center of the nation's creation and ensured that his legacy continues to resonate deeply in both American and global history. His life exemplifies the notion of an individual whose intellectual, political, and moral efforts created a lasting impact on the world, shaping the United States as much as any of its other foundational figures. Benjamin Franklin's contributions extended well beyond science and politics. He was also a pioneering social reformer who fundamentally shaped the civic life of early America. Driven by Enlightenment ideals and a deep belief in communal responsibility, Franklin dedicated himself to building institutions that would serve the public good and strengthen society. One of his most enduring legacies is the establishment of America's first public lending library in 1731. Known as the Library Company of Philadelphia, it allowed everyday citizens to access books, an extraordinary idea in a time when books were scarce and education was a privilege of the elite. This initiative wasn't just about reading, it was about fostering informed citizens, a cornerstone of Franklin's vision for a successful republic. Franklin also founded the first volunteer fire department in Philadelphia in 1736, an innovative approach to public safety. Before this, fire prevention was disorganized and reactive. Franklin's model, neighbors banding together to protect their community, set a precedent followed by towns and cities across America. He understood that civic cooperation could solve real problems, and he built systems to make that happen. Another revolutionary achievement was his role in organizing a more effective postal system. As Postmaster General, Franklin transformed the mail service from a sluggish colonial relic into a fast, reliable network that united distant colonies. This was vital not only for communication, but also for spreading revolutionary ideas and fostering unity in a fractured colonial landscape. Franklin's views on slavery, like many of his time, were complicated and evolved over his life. In his earlier years, he owned enslaved people and published ads for slave sales in his newspaper. But as he grew older and more attuned to the moral contradictions of slavery, Franklin became a vocal abolitionist. By the end of his life, he served as president of the Pennsylvania Society for Promoting the Abolition of Slavery and submitted a petition to Congress urging for the end of the practice. Though late, his advocacy helped sow the seeds of the abolitionist movement. Franklin was also a passionate supporter of public education and civic unity. He believed that a well-educated citizenry was essential to the success of a democracy. He supported schools, scientific societies, and public discourse, always aiming to lift up his fellow citizens through knowledge and collaboration. And of course, no discussion of Franklin would be complete without mentioning his legendary wit and wisdom. His aphorisms from Poor Richard's Almanac became embedded in American culture. Early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. And an investment in knowledge pays the best interest are just two of many timeless gems. These sayings weren't just clever. They were Franklin's way of transmitting values like thrift, hard work, and self-improvement to a young nation. In all of these efforts, Franklin exemplified the ideal of the engaged citizen, one who doesn't just live in society, but helps to build it. Would you like to move into the final reflection and how Franklin's legacy still shapes America today? Benjamin Franklin's legacy looms large over American history, not just as a founding father, but as a symbol of the nation's core values. More than 2 centuries after his death, Franklin remains one of the most admired figures in U.S. history, embodying the ideals of innovation, self-reliance, civic responsibility, and diplomacy. In many ways, he helped define what it means to be American. Franklin's story is the ultimate self-made success narrative. A boy born into modest means who rose through grit, intellect, and ambition to become one of the most influential figures of his time. This trajectory still resonates deeply with Americans today, particularly in the belief that hard work and ingenuity can elevate anyone, regardless of their origins. That's why Franklin's image wasn't reserved for monuments alone. His face graces the $100 bill, the highest denomination in everyday circulation, often referred to simply as Benjamins. This placement isn't just an honor, it's a cultural statement. It ties wealth and power not to royalty or conquest, but to wisdom, enterprise, and public service. Franklin also helped shape the very identity of the United States during its formative years. His scientific experiments and international diplomacy positioned America as a place of forward thinking and global relevance. He was a bridge between the old world and the new, respected in European courts, yet fully committed to the radical democratic project unfolding in the colonies. His charm and intellect helped secure the French alliance that was crucial to winning the Revolutionary War, proving that ideas and relationships could be as powerful as armies. Today, his name and image appear across the nation, from Franklin, Massachusetts, to Franklin County in almost every state, and on countless schools, colleges, and civic buildings. He's portrayed in films, reenactments, documentaries, and cartoons, often as the wise, witty elder statesman with spectacles and a knowing grin. He remains a favorite figure for educators because he is both accessible and profound, someone who spoke plainly, yet shaped complex ideas that still influence modern America. Franklin's enduring relevance lies not just in the historical impact of his actions, but in the astonishing breadth of his intellectual pursuits and the civic-minded spirit that guided them. As a true polymath, he moved seamlessly between fields: science, politics, literature, diplomacy, and public service, leaving behind an integrated legacy that continues to inform and inspire. In science, Franklin's curiosity and experimentation led to groundbreaking discoveries, most famously in electricity. His experiments with the lightning rod, his identification of positive and negative electrical charges, and his contributions to meteorology and oceanography demonstrated not just technical ingenuity but a commitment to using knowledge to improve human life. His scientific work helped to establish a tradition of empirical reasoning in American intellectual culture, reinforcing Enlightenment ideals of progress and rational inquiry. In communication, Franklin revolutionized how information was disseminated. As a printer and publisher, he expanded access to knowledge through newspapers and pamphlets, often using wit and satire to engage the public in discussions on morality, politics, and society. His Poor Richard's Almanac mixed practical advice with philosophical reflection, making complex ideas accessible to ordinary people. In doing so, Franklin helped democratize knowledge, an essential pillar of any functioning democracy. Equally important was his civic vision. Franklin championed the founding of institutions that promoted the public good: America's first public lending library, the first fire department, and one of the first non-sectarian colleges, which became the University of Pennsylvania. He saw community involvement not as charity, but as a vital responsibility of citizenship. His role in forming these institutions laid the groundwork for an American society that valued mutual aid, education, and civic responsibility. Philosophically, Franklin believed in self-improvement and social advancement not as isolated goals but as intertwined aspirations. His life embodied the belief that democracy could only thrive when individuals educated themselves, practiced virtue, and contributed to the public good. His emphasis on pragmatism, compromise, and diplomacy during moments of national crisis, especially at the Constitutional Convention, remains a model for political leadership today. Ultimately, Franklin's legacy reminds us that democratic societies are built not only by grand declarations and institutions, but by the everyday work of individuals committed to learning, innovation, and public service. He stands as a testament to the idea that curiosity, humility, and a desire to uplift one's community can shape the character and destiny of a nation. In a world that still wrestles with questions of governance, progress, and public trust, Franklin's example continues to illuminate the path forward. Many popular myths have clouded the true story of Benjamin Franklin, turning a complex, brilliant man into a caricature of simplistic genius. One of the most enduring myths is that Franklin discovered electricity. In reality, electricity was already known and studied in Europe long before Franklin's famous kite experiment. What Franklin did, through his daring 1752 experiment, was demonstrate that lightning was a form of electrical discharge, helping to unify the understanding of natural electricity and laying the foundation for lightning rods and modern electrical science. He didn't invent electricity, but he helped explain it in a groundbreaking way that transformed how people viewed the natural world. Another misconception is that Franklin was always in close harmony with other founding fathers. While he worked with figures like Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, and George Washington, their relationships were nuanced and at times strained. Franklin and Adams, for instance, had very different temperaments. Franklin was diplomatic and laid back, Adams intense and prickly. During their diplomatic mission in France, Franklin's ease with French society clashed with Adams's puritanical rigidity. Still, Franklin's charm made him incredibly effective in foreign affairs, earning admiration even from rivals who sometimes found his style frustrating. Despite these tensions, Franklin was respected across the political spectrum as a mediator and elder statesman. Franklin's personal beliefs also often diverge from modern assumptions. Though he was raised in a strict Puritan environment, he later adopted a more deist view of religion. He believed in a creator but was skeptical of dogma and organized religion. Instead, he emphasized morality, personal responsibility, and the public good. His famous quote, "God helps those who help themselves," captures his belief in practical ethics over theological purity. Franklin supported religious tolerance and believed that virtue mattered more than specific beliefs, an idea that helped shape the broader American ethos of religious freedom and civic morality. Franklin's real story is more compelling than the myths. He wasn't just the man with the kite. He was a thinker who dared to challenge tradition, a diplomat who charmed kings, and a reformer who believed knowledge should serve the people. Peeling back the legend reveals a man whose contradictions and complexities make his legacy all the more powerful. Would you like to include a visual comparison of myths versus facts in this section of your video? Benjamin Franklin's life was nothing short of extraordinary, a self-made man who rose from modest beginnings to become one of the most influential figures in American history. He was a scientist who explored the secrets of electricity, an inventor who sought practical solutions to everyday problems, a printer who understood the power of the written word, and a statesman who helped birth a nation. Through his wit, wisdom, and tireless pursuit of knowledge, Franklin left behind a legacy that spans science, politics, philosophy, and culture. His story still resonates today because it embodies ideals we continue to value: curiosity, innovation, civic responsibility, and the belief that anyone, regardless of background, can achieve greatness through hard work and determination. In an age where disinformation spreads easily and public trust is fragile, Franklin's commitment to reason, dialogue, and the common good remains deeply relevant. If you enjoyed uncovering the real Benjamin Franklin, don't forget to like this video, drop a comment with your favorite Franklin invention or quote, and subscribe for more deep dives into untold history. Up next, we unravel the true story behind Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad, beyond the myths, into the shadows of resistance. Stay curious.